All right, and we're underway. This is Shea Strausman versus Micheal McClure.
Going back and forth on cycling lands. Irrigated farmland for the white-blue deck. Sheltered thicket the other way coming back around.
Selfless Spirit turn 2 here for Shea. Yeah, so look at the ramp spells to take from the green deck. We have Our Promise, Beneath the Sands, and Natural Connection.
Yeah, other than that, it's just some lower spells. The deck does feature 4 copies of Chandra, Torch of Defiance. When you think about conventional ramp, it usually means 2-mana ramp spells. It means turn 3 Chandra. This deck just has Chandra because sometimes you have nothing else going on turn 4. And it also does, accelerate your mana. If you get to survive, it does +1 for 2 red mana.
All right, 2 more threats. Thraben Inspector and Hunger Militia Captain from Shea. Micheal will abrade away the Militia Captain and play Sanctum of Ugin. See if he has a ramp spell here. 6 cards that ramp on 3 mana. I like with Natural Connection, he could do it. End step. Kozilek's Return here for Micheal. Shea will sacrifice their Selfless Spirit. I'm going to guess that he drew the Kozilek's Return because he abraded away not the Selfless Spirit.
Right. And played it main phase because he doesn't want to get tagged by Spell Queller.
All right, well, that's a heads-up play. Micheal will go to 19, though, on the attack. And another Militia Captain.
Copy of Dusk Dawn in Shea's hand here. That can be good in some games. Obviously, it can't destroy Ulamog.
Nothing destroys Ulamog.
2 Hour of Promise does. Boom.
Another Kozilek's Return here for McClure, and that's going to clean up the board completely. You go back over to Strausman. 2 Dusk Dawns and a Spell Queller in hand.
May as well cast one because he wants to cast the Aftermath.
Here's Dusk, casting it for no value, setting up Dawn on the following turn.
It's a slow burn.
And Hour of Promise for McClure.
And he has Ulamog in hand already.
Yeah, this is scary. So we've Shrine and Shrine. Because these are lands 6 and 7, they both double tap. So this is all up to 9 mana on the next turn for Micheal McClure.
Yeah, 1 more land, and that's Ulamog.
Yeah, this looks real strong for the ramp deck. Sure, Shea's going to buy back his whole graveyard. That's great. But maybe too slow to race the Infinite Hunger. The Ceaseless Hunger? Ceaseless.
Ceaseless.
Ceaseless Hunger.
Infinite Gyre.
He used
Ceaseless
to be,
Hunger.
Right. So he keeps spinning.
How many synonyms for an unlimited amount can we put on different Ulamog cards?
The Unbounded Destruction. The Countless Terror.
There's a lot of boring ones.
We could do this, yeah.
There's a lot of boring ones you could go through. Looks like we're shy of Ulamog this turn, but there's plenty of reasonable things you can cast here. World Breaker, Oblivion Sower would be pretty good here.
Here is World Breaker from McClure. 2 Sanctum of Ugin triggers. And I'm interested to see whether Michael's going to use the Sanctum triggers. He's got 2 Kozilek's Returns as well.
I guarantee that he will not be triggering both Kozilek's Returns. He's just demonstrating that he has all these May effects. Pretty tricky to sacrifice the Sanctum when you have Ulamog in hand. Possibly 1 to go find Oblivion Sower, because that can find more land drops.
That's what he's going to sacrifice 1. And I think you might be just right.
Second World Breaker also reasonable from this spot.
Yeah, and he actually looks like he revealed a second World Breaker. Because maybe already an Oblivion Sower in his hand. So if you have an Ulamog and a Sower, might as well finish the team.
I'm a little curious if you already have Ulamog in hand to not cast the Sower that turn, to try to go for Ulamog on the following turn.
Yeah, they're all great. They're all winners in my book.
With access to so many Kozilek's Returns, you'll be able to keep Shea off the battlefield for a long time.
No, see, you World Breaker 2 other lands, and then your Oblivion Sower is going to be real nice because you're going to steal his land.
It does take any land exiled for any reason. That is true.
Bygone Bishop and Hanvir Militia Captain for Shea. He'll get a second clue here. But remember, there's those 2 Kozilek's returns in the yard. It's time to fire off one of those.
Yeah, you got to figure one of those is happening here.
Another Ulamog for Micheal. Just all the Eldrazi's.
That's in a below average draw, but at least he has a good amount of mana set up.
I like the setup of another World Breaker. He'll go for Oblivion Sower. I wanted to get more lands.
Well, yeah, now that he has sacrificed one of the Sanctum of Ugin, he'll want to find another land on top of the one he already exiled, but he does hit.
Yeah. And he grabs that other one out of exile. Cannot bring back Kozilek's Return just yet. That's for next turn, or when we cast Ulamog.
Honestly, he's not too concerned about anything that's happening on the other side of the table. He's still at 19.
That's the beauty of Eldrazi Ramp. Once you get to this part of the game, you can just pick whatever card in your hand you want to play. Your opponent's probably not doing anything powerful enough. Here's a Dusk Dawn. That'll kill both of Michael's creatures.
Rats. I don't know how Michael's going to get out of that one.
Well, here's Selfless Spirit. Hold on. That's good here.
Yes, Selfless Spirit can fight against the Kozilek's Return.
The first, I mean, kind of.
The second Ulamog is going to be pretty good, though.
Micheal draws Hour of Devastation.
Okay.
Okay, take that, Selfless Spirit.
Not quite up the threshold.
If you don't kill this ramp deck before they get 10 mana, oh my goodness.
They're not playing the same game anymore.
No, but Michael's game is every creature is a Plague Wind that comes on a 10/10. Shea plays some 2-drops. And
yeah.
I mean, he has a choice. He can either Hour of Devastation the whole board, or he can Ulamog. It's tough.
Shea's playing flag football, and Michael's bare-knuckle boxing. These punches are not going to go well for Shea.
Here you go. Hour of Devastation. Can't answer that. I mean, you can sack the Selfless Spirit if you like.
Sure.
And that is worded, yeah, there's no way to get around that. There's no timing window you have. Shea just loses his creatures.
Again.
Again, here's Cast Out, drawn for Shea. Spell Queller, Cast Out, something else. Can use Dusk Dawn to bring back those creatures. Draws Cloud Blazer. We're not playing the same game.
No.
Cloud Blazer versus Ulamog.
Glory Seeker entering the fray.
Yeah, Militia Captain.
Yeah. This one unlikely to be flipping this game.
Ulamog is going to eat it.
I don't even think Ulamog is. You don't really even have to Kozilek's Return here. I suppose you got 2 of them. So.
Take some lands. Shea's going to float some mana. Those get exiled. Sanctum of Ugin, I don't know. He could get another creature out of his deck.
Let's get another Ulamog.
Kozilek's Return.
Maybe the second Ulamog will find a third. This time he'll decline that Sanctum trigger.
Yeah, Shea's going to use that mana to draw a card. I was wondering, you almost missed it.
You don't want to leave that value on the table.
Going to cast out the Ulamog, maybe. Yeah. Take that.
Yeah. We're back in it.
I mean, there's a World Breaker in the yard.
Oh, yeah. And an Ulamog in the hand.
Yeah, there's a World Breaker in the hand that Shea knows about. It's going to eat the cast out. Or could. It might. I mean, if that's the play Micheal wants to make. Looks like it is. Here's World Breaker. Exile's cast out. But you can do this for as long as Shea wants, and that's about done. Game 1 goes to Micheal McClure. The Eldrazi take the win. I like this ramp deck, Ryan. That was great.
Yeah, it executed pretty well that game, you might say.
Yeah, the important parts were those early turns with the Kozilek's returns. That's where the game happened. Once we got to 10 mana, I mean, sure, they kept playing for 5 minutes, but that game was done.
Right, and only 2 Kozilek's return in the main deck because there's matchups where you don't want to draw them, but when you draw them in this matchup, they're spectacular.
Wow. All right, let's look at Shea's sideboard. I'm assuming we're going to see some counter spells now. We have Gideon Ally of Zendikar, Angel of Sanctions, Declaration of Stone, Fragmentize, Essence Scatter, Repel the Abominable, Dusk Dawn, Metallic Rebuke, that would be the 4th Metallic Rebuke, and then a copy of Dispel.
Metallic Rebuke is great. There's a good chance that you see Repel the Abominable just as a way to prevent damage. You know, these non-human sweeper effects are non-human cards, non-human sources, so you can repel. This is actually the only way to prevent damage from Hour of Devastation in a meaningful way. So you stop your creatures from dying to that. You would want to see some negates. Unfortunately, just Metallic Rebuke is another answer to Hour of Promise. You might see the Dispel because sometimes tagging Natural Connection can matter, and of course Kozilek's Return as well. It's not great, but it has some spots here.
Is the list in ramp stock enough that if I'm playing a ramp opponent, so his ramp spells are 4 Beneath the Sands, 4 Hour of Promise, and then 2 Natural Connection. If I'm Shea, can I assume my opponent's playing Natural Connection, or are there some builds that go to different ramp spells?
I think there is some variance here. I would assume some small number of Natural Connections. Some builds do play 4, but you also saw removal spells. You can tag in a Braid. You can hit Kozilek's Return sometimes in a meaningful way.
Okay, yeah, with the Abrades, you can probably just, you're right, you can just board in the Dispel.
Right.
On Micheal McClure's side, you mentioned he was kind of light on anti-aggro. He drew it both game 1. That was great.
Yep. I think it's getting a lot better post-sideboard. We're looking at 3 Tireless Tracker, 2 Glorybringer, 2 Magma Spray, 2 Crumble to Dust, a Goblin Dark Dwellers, a Nissel Vita Force, another Hour of Devastation, another Kozilek's Return, Chandra Flamecaller, and an Appetite for the Unnatural. So generally, you're going to see the green-red ramp deck try to play more like a regular game of Magic post-sideboard. You can expect your opponent's going to be something that's going to interact with the game you're trying to play. So you want to go a little bit lower, more of these removal spells. So the Magma Sprays are great. The extra Kozilek's Return, clearly great. Extra Hour of Devastation, also great.
Yeah, that's the 3rd hour he has.
Yep. Yeah, you might go for Goblin Dark Dwellers just to be something that's castable, can't get hit by a Spell Queller, can flashback a removal spell, and Glorybringer seems really good because it just always is a removal spell.
Do you know that Goblin Dark Dwellers was in Standard? I just keep seeing that, and I'm like, man, that card's not in Standard.
It's not as good as it was when you could play 4-color mana bases. You know, nobody's flashing back Obzon Charm with it anymore.
Can I play Kolaghan's Command in Standard?
No, you can't. That one's from Dragons of Tarkir.
All right. So we do have an update here on, there was a judge call from Shea. Had found a card in his sideboard that was supposed to be in the main deck. Just called a judge on himself. Now, because that judge, if that call had happened during a game, would have been a game, could have been a game loss. Because it was during sideboarding and it was a self call, there's not a game loss penalty for it going into the second game.
Yeah, also lost to the relevant game anyway.
Yeah, it's like, well, didn't help you. And it's about, so Hour of Devastation number 3, Kozilek's Return number 3. I imagine both Magma Sprays.
Yeah, Chandra Flamecaller is pretty good as well.
Good. What about Glorybringer Tireless Tracker?
Love Glorybringer. And you might just bring in Tireless Tracker because you're concerned about your ability to resolve your ramp spells and your giant monsters.
If you're bringing in all these cards, what comes out for it?
I mean, it's really just a transformational sideboard, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. So, but when you do this transform, I'm assuming right now you talked about 4 World Breakers, 4 Ulamogs, 2 Oblivion Sower. Some of that's got to go.
Yeah, all this stuff is trimmable and maybe even cuttable entirely. You could maybe even just move off of Hour of Promise, you know? Just play a more honest game plan. You do need to maintain some ways to win the game.
I signed up to play Ramp, Ryan. I'm not cutting the Hour of Promise.
You also signed up to win the tournament.
Yeah, it might be the right play.
You feel like it's not going to line up right, you got to do something else.
All right, over on StarCgames.com, we have our weekly sale. So on our store, we have a different item on sale every week. This week, it's been top vintage and legacy cards. Those have been on sale all week, and will still be on sale through the end of today. So head on over to the store to check out some of the deals, and come back tomorrow morning, Monday, when we switch it to next week's weekly sale.
I know that I have been waiting for a sale on the 9-graded Black Lotus.
It's time to buy it right now.
This is my spot.
So you got to head over and buy it before Ryan does.
Graded power, a little bit out of my price range. But I imagine it's very satisfying to take it out of the graded case and shuffle it up. That sounds great to me.
Yeah, that's great. You got to pay for the privilege to do that.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you want to do with your cards.
I would not want to own a Magic card that was in some kind of casing that prevented me from playing it.
You could white border it.
I would not do that.
Like, I like my cards white bordered. I couldn't find an unlimited one though.
I
had to buy this beta one and white border.
I enjoy shuffling decks with expensive cards. I don't enjoy vandalizing them per se. I enjoy vandalizing some Magic cards. The Sensei's Divining Top and the Grixis Cube, I wrote the date that it was banned in all 3 formats that it was banned in.
Okay, I like that.
It's nice.
So I got a question. I know that, so you're anti-white bordering on cards, right? You don't like it when people...
Yeah.
What if you draw in and, like, if I wanted to red border my cards? Like, I white bordered them and then I drew it in red.
What's the purpose of this? You got to sell me on doing this.
Okay, if it's a red card, it's like lightning bolt. I like my lightning bolts to be all red.
I think that's stupid, but, you know, live your life.
What if only like 3 of them were red bordered and I black bordered the other one?
What if they were all black bordered? You know?
All right. Game number 2, Micheal on a mulligan. You always have to be careful when watching a ramp deck when they mulligan. It can be pretty harmful.
Yes. Though post-sideboard, we'll see exactly how rampy the deck is.
Yeah, Micheal Magma sprays away a Selfless Spirit. See, that's actually a good setup. He has a copy of Kozilek's Return in the opening hand. It's like maybe even 2.
We'll find out how many more land drops Michael's able to make, though.
Or Shea. I don't think Shea has the land drop either. He cycles Cast Out.
Usually a sign of missing land. So this is not the best matchup for Cast Out in the first place.
Yeah, he'll pass. Can Micheal hit a land drop? It's going to be a real interesting game. I don't... Natural Connection main phase from Micheal. I
Dispel.
like that a lot. Yeah.
Dispel.
No, he's getting the land. Selfless Spirit, a little bit of a hiccup there for Shea. He actually let the Selfless Spirit get exiled to Magma Spray. I guess if Dusk Dawn's no longer in his list, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is not the kind of matchup where I'm excited to have Dusk Dawn post sideboard.
All right, so it's all the same. Still no third land for Shea. He does make a Selfless Spirit here. And the Hour of Promise, are we going to get that? Land Hour of Promise would be very strong on this board. World Breaker looks to be in McClure's hand. Kozilek's Return. He'll just return away the Selfless Spirit and say, go, no land for McClure. And this just shaping up to be in both players awaiting land drops. Third Selfless Spirit for Shea. Land 5 for Micheal and pass. And there we go. There's a Plains. 2 damage in. And leaving up Spell Queller, Shea will hand the turn back over to Micheal. And Micheal end step's going to Kozilek's Return again. Why not? Strausman has Metallic Rebuke and Spell Queller both in hand, so he's got a decision here. He actually just lets it resolve.
I like doing that. Metallic Rebuke on Hour of Promise would be a much more relevant thing if that came up on this turn.
Port Town the draw for Strausman. He's going to cast a 3-drop. This is interesting. Micheal has drawn a second copy of Natural Connection, which he should be able to sneak around the counter magic thanks to it being instant speed. He says go. Maybe not. Micheal goes for the Natural Connection, and now Shea's got a window. He'll cast Metallic Rebuke. And Micheal, no Hour of Promise, just sends back.
The ramp deck is kind of doing what ramp decks do after a very impressive game 1. Game 2, really not doing much of anything. Oketra's
Monument and a tap land for Strausman. He does have a Spell Queller. A Braid hits the Monument. Can't cast it just yet. Draws Ulamog.
Perfect.
Nothing here. Yeah, it's hand Breaker, Ulamog. Hour of Devastation. Here's another monument from Strausman, and it looks like it's going to be Bygone Bishop. So one of the hard parts about casting a Braid against the Monument deck is that sometimes they have second copies of their legendary artifact, so it's
right.
Like,
which they couldn't cast.
Yeah, which was you kind of just threw away a card. Oath of Nissa into Basic Mountain for Micheal McClure.
One more land, and we'll start seeing World Breakers.
Well, I mean, 2 more lands, and we see Ulamog. Micheal naturally drew 2 copies of Shrine of the Forsaken Gods.
Yeah, he's got the full 4 in the deck.
Yeah, if he actually just draws a Shrine next turn, it's just Ulamog, right?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's why I like the ramp deck. It's like the secret ramp spells, the ones that are just on land drops.
Yeah. And the heavy removal spell configuration has really slowed Shea down quite a lot. McClure's still at 18.
Right. A second Bygone Bishop for Strausman. This is likely going to force the Hour of Devastation from McClure. It's just a hard board, though. Look at McClure's his Hour of Devastation in hand. 2 Kozilek's returns in the yard. It's just so much sweeper here.
Land here would be excellent.
Draws Glorybringer.
Glorybringer's passable, but yeah, he's already got a
Hour
sweeper.
of Devastation. Yeah. At this point, I don't think he cares much about Glorybringer. It's sweepers and Eldrazi, but
especially because the Hour would kill the Glorybringer if he played that first.
Yeah, Strausman draws a card.
Yeah, killing 2 Bygone Bishops is a lot to pass on.
Did he draw Repel? He drew Repel the Abominable, his 1 of out of the sideboard. This is what a hit. That was off the clue token.
Very nice.
Yeah, and you see him on
damage.
his... Yeah, no, this was the draw he wanted.
Is Hour of Devastation a human source? Survey says no.
No, so Shea gets to keep his board. Wow. All right. We're still playing. Shea's going to tap with 6 power. Here's a swing for 6. McClure down to 9. Remember, the 1 Shrine of the Forsaken Gods should still be good enough here.
Right.
It's going to be... But Shea's going to force him to have it. Here's Hanvir, Militia Captain.
Again, presenting lethal attackers on the following turn.
Yeah, Clue and 2 humans. Technically, Shea's floating 1 mana right now. I don't think he knows that.
Shrine, of course, reducing the cost of white creatures.
Yeah, the monument.
Right.
Yeah, this is lethal. Can Micheal draw land? Another World Breaker. Oh, no.
That's not what he needed.
So his hand, 2... the Glorybringer is going to be played. He has 2 Ulamogs, 2 World Breakers. A little much. Attacks with Glorybringer. It's going to kill the Militia Captain. But I believe the Spell Queller in Shea's hand should be good enough to win.
Yep. 7 power currently. That would add 2 more, or 3 more because of the monument.
Yeah, that'll make it lethal. If he just end steps it as a 2/3. And here we see Spell Queller. Yeah, that's going to be lethal. Game number 3 on the way. Strausman versus McClure. And you know, that one actually ends up being pretty close. For my side, it felt like I thought McClure was going to get that one. He had a lot of turns where 1 land would have won it for him.
Right.
Couldn't convert. Even a tap land would have allowed him to cast World Breaker that turn.
We saw a lot of the removal spells in post-sideboard, but still at least 3 World Breakers and an Ulamog.
Yeah, and one of the things where I'm noticing about McClure's strategy, he's got these 3 Kozilek's returns in. He's got to make sure that he can hit both halves of those Kozilek's returns.
Right.
So I don't know how many of, maybe you cut Ulamogs before you cut World Breakers, actually.
Oh, yeah, almost certainly. And I'm kind of wondering how many Hour of Promises are in the deck. We didn't see that in Game 2.
Yeah, I mean, so 4 World Breakers to me makes sense. I really want the second half of those Kozilek's returns.
Certainly. Yeah, I would cut Oblivion Sower over everything first.
Yeah, that card seems bad here. Glorybringer seems better. So 2 weekends ago in Roanoke, we had our Season 1 Invitational, crowned our first champion this year in 2017. That champion was Brian Koval playing Metallurgic Summonings and Death and Taxes. We now get to show you, saw this yesterday. This is the token that was made in his likeness. Brian Koval, a fan of Eternal formats, particularly Vintage, you see here, made the Monk Prowess token. Card played definitely in Eternal formats. A lot of throwbacks here to some very iconic Magic cards.
Got Mox Sapphire, Ancestral Recall. Pretty good follow-up to a Monastery Mentor, if I must say.
Yeah, I'd play both Mentor, then Sapphire, then Recall.
Oh, yeah. That's real nice.
Gotta max value it.
Had that in some of my cube decks last time that was online. It feels real nice.
All right, so the art has been made for it. Now these tokens will be available starting July 30th in the Star City Games store, which means you'll get your chance at the end of the month to get these. The first open, that'll be the Syracuse Open the following week. We'll be giving those away. These will be available for all of Season 2. 2 players in our Opens and Classics, and they ship from orders from the store.
Monastery Mentor is a lot more powerful than Young Pyromancer. I hate to say it.
Well, it's because the ones have prowess.
Yes.
That's basically it, right?
Yep, that's pretty much the equation. You can kill people from a very high life total with Mentor.
I think one of my favorite things was when you would see, and I don't get to see as much anymore, Miracles decks. The
Sensei's
Mentor
Divining Top.
Yeah, the double Divining Top Mentor kills. Those are nice.
That is a good interaction. Gush recently restricted in Vintage because of Monastery Mentor.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Actually, just free spells are just good with Mentor.
Free spells are powerful.
All right, game 3 underway. McClure and Strausman. Turn 1 Oath of Nissa from McClure. Now, this green-red ramp deck, a huge amount of noise about it going into this tournament. It actually turns out Micheal McClure going into this round is one of only 2 ramp players still left in contention in the event. Is it fair to say this deck's underperformed?
I would say so. Part of that is we've seen a lot of this blue-white Monument deck, and this deck does seem to give the ramp deck fits.
Selfless Spirit from Shea.
When you play a ramp deck, you kind of have the issue where your deck can lose to itself. You really can't have a popular bad matchup on top of that.
Micheal will Magma Spray away the Selfless Spirit.
Here's Thraben Inspector making a clue. See if Shea has a 3rd land this time.
And Michael's going to cycle away lands. She actually is land heavy here. Yeah.
Sheltered Thicket is pretty significant for a ramp deck, because the ramp decks really can flood a lot.
Well, yeah, ramp decks are all about having. It's a 3-piece puzzle, right? Lands, ramp spells, and threats. Mm-hmm. And so any card that can help you need the same distribution of all 3. So cards that can help you when you have too much of one or not enough of the other are pretty welcome in a ramp strategy. Mm-hmm. Shea does make Oketra's Monument here. We see Micheal abrading it at the ready. Micheal up to 5 lands, 2 of them are shrines. And Shea has not presented pressure yet.
It looks like Micheal has at least 1 double red spell in his hand, and he did cycle the 2nd Sheltered Thicket. If it's a Chandra, you can still cast it because of the Oath.
Yeah. Another Inspector and Selfless Spirit for Shea.
Okay, it is a Chandra, so you can still cast that, though it's a little behind the buck here.
Well, he doesn't need much time. Look at this. With 2 shrines, he's making land 6. He's just got land 7 up to 8, 9 next turn. He's almost at the... He has an Ulamog in his hand, and he's basically there.
And not under a terrible amount of pressure, because he did deal with that shrine, just 4 power on the other side.
A little interested if he had the Chandra, they just didn't play it and plus it there.
Yeah, it would give him access to mana. In the face of what's already on the battlefield, it would survive. You don't want to get tagged by a Spell Queller, I suppose.
Here's the Militia Captain from Strausman. He'll pass. Shrine of Forsaken Gods as land 7. So Micheal just has 10. It's 3 shrines.
Checks out.
Yeah, okay, that's easy enough. Let's just make Ulamog. Yeah, 10 mana. Here's Ulamog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that land's real good.
Yeah. There's an argument for getting rid of one creature. It can be any creature to stop the militia captain from flipping. You want to go after a blue source. Frequently, you'd want to just exile both the blue lands, remove a lot of the play from
yeah.
Shea.
And Metallic Rebuke is going to counter the Ulamog, thanks to those 2 clue tokens to help improvise. Michael did not crack Sanctum of Ugin. It's okay, he has a World Breaker in hand. He has another way to do that. Shea hits him down to 10. Shea's hand, Bygone Bishop, Repel the Abominable, and Selfless Spirit. He's going to make, looks like another Selfless Spirit here. Just maybe protect him from a sweeper. I mean, he still doesn't protect him from Hour of Devastation. He's got to be careful about that. But maybe he just can't beat that card. Yeah, second Selfless Spirit from Strausman. Michael down to 10.
Yeah, once your opponent starts casting giant monsters that exile your land, you kind of just got to throw caution to the wind. Just cast as many spells as you can, as fast as you can, and hope that they're good enough. 5 non-foils, they have the Expedition art.
World Breaker, Sanctum of Ugin trigger, targeting the Port Town. That was a Cinderglade from Michael McClure. And Sanctum of Ugin's going to pop. You do see Hour of Promise and Chandra in Michael's hand. He'll get Ulamog.
A number of these ramp decks, they only play 2 copies of Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. In this game, you've really seen the power of just putting 4 in your deck list. Just being able to draw them naturally was really beneficial for McClure.
Yeah, and I like that, just incidentally ramping. And you see, able to cast Chandra. Had that 1 extra mana floating off the Sanctum of Ugin.
You kind of want to just -3 the Chandra to stop yourself from taking too much damage. You're only really losing to some chip shots at this point.
Yeah, and that's what he'll do. He'll shoot a Selfless Spirit. I like that a lot. You have World Breaker, you have Ulamog in hand. No need to get fancy here. Yes, you lose your Planeswalker. So what?
Yep.
And here's a swing. World Breaker blocks Selfless Spirits, Thraben Inspectors. Looks like he just sent them upstairs. And actually, sure, why not?
Yeah, no reason to go after the Chandra, really. You have to kill your opponent.
Kozilek's Return drawn by McClure.
Yeah, and that Ulamog really should close this one out.
Remember, you can cast Kozilek's Return off those shrines. Kozilek's Return is colorless thanks to the Devoid mechanic. 7, 8, 9. Ulamog. Make that 10. And you get the last of Shea's lands. Michael's at 8. That's not enough. Planes from Strausman.
Back in it.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I don't know. It's Eldrazi time. This swing gets 1 more damage in. Michael's down to 7.
You won't find a lot of players with a story of how they beat the second Ulamog.
No, not really. Oath of Nissa from McClure.
Running up the scoreboard. Shea telling Michael to come at him. Sure, Michael will oblige.
"20 cards off the top of the deck. Gonna get to look through them.
You want to know what's in your opponent's exile for game 4.
That's the one you play when you finish the match. Your opponent's like, man, want to play another?
One more for fun.
Yeah.
Also, do you have trades?
You got to look at his exile so that when you play that for fun game, you get him another time. cycle here of a duel for McClure. He hit in for 10. Shea drops to 8. Kozlek's return. Micheal almost able to complete the clean victory, but it looks like that Plains will still be on the board. Along with Westvale Abbey, that's going to be the match. It is Micheal McClure, green-red ramp, remaining in the tournament. He improves to 9-2.
And I like a lot of what's happening here with Michael's list. As I mentioned before, the 4 copies of Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, I think that's really good deck building.